Hi, this is Dave and welcome to the Table, a series of videos where I review and discuss various board and card games, looking at them from a family perspective. Today we're going to be taking a preview look at a game that's currently on Kickstarter called Tower by Ben Haskett. Now Tower is a 2 to 4 player set collection game where you take on the role of a skilled architect who's been commissioned by the king to build a glorious tower on top of his palace. Now how are you going to build this tower? You're going to visit the various markets in town and deal with the merchants to buy various building resources in order to build your tower segments. But watch out, because there's a black market that you can get involved with, and so can your opponents, and you can fall victim to that. So let's take a look at this game and how it's played, and I'll come back and I'll give you my thoughts. Okay, let's take a look at the components that are going to come with Tower. And first, let's look at the largest components here, and that is these tiles right here. And first of all, we're going to have this palace tile right here, and this is going to be where the tower is actually going to be built. Next is Salil, the tax collector, and he's going to be placed on the board, and he is going to be used to trade gems in and different things like that, and so he will have a bunch of stuff that will end up being around him, but you can go and visit him. And then we have these market tiles here that are going to make up the game board, and if we look here, we have various different sellers and the different types of building resources that they're going to be selling. For example, here this is going to be, he's going to be selling straw here, and this is lumber, and we've got clay, and then also we have like clay and water here, and then we'll also tell you what the cost is to buy each of these resources. So if you look there, there's the cost in the different gems. So those are going to be used in play, and there are some of them, like this one here, will only be used if there's a 3-player game, and then there's another one for a 4-player game that this one will be added to play too. Next, there is going to be 12 of these tower segment pieces here, 3 for each player, as well as a builder pawn right here, 1 for each player. That's basically your meeple for the game. We also have 18 building material items. We've got our straw, our clay, our water, and our lumber. There is a bunch of these gems. There's 90 of these different gems. There's green ones, blue ones, and red ones. And then there's also 10 of these black ones here that'll be used as passes to go to the black market. There's also this drawstring pouch that all these gems are going to be placed into. And then finally, there are 2 decks of cards that will be used in the game. First of all is the build deck. And if we look at the build deck, on each of these is going to show you what resources are going to have to be collected in order to build a tower segment. And some of these will be used for a 3-player game or 4-player game, like here's one for a 4-player game. So some of these, well, not all the cards will be used for all of the games. And then there are these black market cards, this black market deck. And at the bottom here will tell you the cost in order to access the black market. And then these different cards on here will give you different abilities that you'll be able to do. For example, you may be able to substitute a supply, or you can steal supplies or resources from other players. So those are the components that come in the game. Let me get it set up for you, and I'll show you how it's played. Okay, let's take a look at how this game is set up and a sample of how it's played. And what I want to do is show you how to play this game as a 3-player game. So there's a few things that we need to do. Not all of the components will be used in the game for 3 players. So we will not include the 4-player market tile, and in the build deck we will take out any of the cards that are going to be used in a 4-player game, and they have markings on there for a 4-player game. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the market itself and the palace tile. So we place the palace tile out. I like to put it up at the top. It doesn't matter how you have this set up, any arrangement that you want. Just make sure that you have the correct tiles that are out here and these are going to be for 1, 2, and for 3-player game. This one here, there is a 3-player marker right there. So once I have this set up now, I'm going to populate this with the building resources. And so starting up here, if I look here at the various colors, all I have to do is match them up. For example, here, this is going to be clay here and clay here. The blue there is water, so put the water there. This next one here, we've got 2 straw and a clay. This one here will have 2 lumber and a straw. And this one here will have all 3 will be straw. And then down at the bottom here will be a lumber, a water, and a clay. Now each of these stores, there's various, there are gems surrounding the little circles on the board where the building materials are, and that is going to be the cost in order to purchase them. For example, here, if you were to visit this particular store and wish to buy this lumber, it's going to cost you 2 red gems. Okay, so just quickly how these cards are. They all have various costs. For example, here on the same tile, if you wish to buy this straw, it's going to cost you 5 green gems, and so on and so forth throughout this thing. Next, we're going to place the Salil tax collector tile off to the side. And we've taken this build deck. Again, I've removed the 4-player cards from here, and I've shuffled them up, and I've shuffled up this black market deck. And again, we took all the gems and we placed them in this pouch and gave them a nice shake. Okay, next what we're going to do is each player will then draw 1 card from the build deck and place it in front of them, face up, so that the other players can see what's going on. Now, in a 2-player game, you will keep that particular build card face down. Now in this game here, you can only have 1 build card at a time, and each of the cards will show you what building materials that you're going to need to collect in order to build a tower segment. So for us, we are going to have to collect 2 straw, 1 lumber, 1 clay, and 1 water. We can only purchase the building resources that are required here. So we can't stock up on other things and we can't hoard them. There is a variant in the rules that you can do this, but for the basic game as it stands, you are not supposed to do that. You can only purchase the resources that are required for building. Now, on our turn, there's going to be 3 phases. There's going to be the draw phase, the action phase, and the build phase. So on our turn, at the beginning of the turn, we'll shake up this bag, and there's going to be the draw phase, and you will draw 3 gems from the pouch. And so, for example, here we drew 3 blue gems. And I'll place it down in front of me. After the draw phase, now we will move on to the action phase. And there's a few different things that we can do on the action phase. We can visit one of the stores and purchase any number of resources that we can afford to buy. We can access the black market by trading in various number or types of gems, and we would be able to draw cards here. Or we could trade with Salil. And right now he has nothing to trade with, but that's going to change over the course of the game, because any time that any purchases are made, or even if we access the black market, any of those gems will be paid to Salil, and you'll be able to trade with him. And if you notice on his particular tile here, he has a particular cost here, and it says you may trade like 3 green gems or 2 blue gems or 1 red gem for 1 jewel of your choice, or you could trade in 1 of the black ones for any 2 of the gems or jewels. So we have drawn these 3 here, and on our turn we will move and visit one of the stores. So I'll take my little builder pawn and I will place it on this particular store right here, and I wish to purchase this clay. So I will purchase that clay, and I will pay these 3 gems or jewels, and they will go over to Salil. And I just place this on my card for reference down here that I have done that. and I am not able to complete anything to build a tower segment, so my action phase is over. Now I can do any of those actions that I want to, and I can even split them up too. So I can buy something at the store, and then I could trade to Salil and buy another item at that particular store. I can only visit one store though per turn. Now, if I did not choose to do any of those actions at the end of the action phase, I could in turn draw 2 more gems. So if I choose not to do any of those actions, I would draw 2 more. So essentially I would draw 5 gems. So, so the next player will draw their 3 gems here. They have 3 of the green ones. And he will go over here, pay these 3 gems to obtain this straw. That'll be his turn. Next turn behind us, they will draw 3 gems there. And that was a green one that fell on the floor back there, so I'll just grab another one out of the bag just to make sure. Okay, so now what he's done is he has 2 greens and a black gem. So now what he can do is, if he wants to, it's the cheapest to use a black gem to access the black market, and that's what he's going to do. So he'll pay that, and what he'll do is then draw the top 3 cards from the black market deck. So and then they will be able to look through these cards, choose one that they want to use, and place the other 2 on top in any order that they want. Now, for example, here I think that maybe we will use this one here, Shady Supplies, and let me explain to you how these cards are laid out. There is going to be some artwork and some flavor text here. For example, this says, an unscrupulous looking character approaches and opens a trunk revealing a slew of smuggled goods. And at the bottom it says, wild card. This card represents a single resource of your choosing to be used when building, and then there's a number 2. Well, that 2 is going to be the cost to use this particular card when you choose to redeem it. So this card will be placed face down over here, and you can only have 3 black market cards in your possession at any time. So if you choose to use it, you will announce that you're using it, reveal it, pay the cost, and then perform the action, and then you will discard the card. Okay? Now, over the course of this game, as you continue to collect your various building resources, if you notice here now, when we visited these stores, those resources are gone. They're not there. These do not get replenished until somebody builds a tower segment, and then the resources that they have collected will then be available for purchase in the stores again. So becomes a scarcity of resources in this game, so it makes planning really, really important for it. Now, for example, here if I were to accelerate this gameplay and I had collected a few other of these building resources here, and if we look at my card, maybe I have collected all 5 pieces that I needed. At the end of a build phase, what I will do then is I will in turn take all of these pieces and restock the stores. I can place them however I choose, but they have to go in their appropriate space in the stores. And this water goes here, this goes here, this goes here. I will then discard this particular card, and I will place a tower segment there, and I'll draw another build card. And this is going to continue around. Each player will continue to do this until they have placed their 3 tower segments onto the palace tile, and then they will win the game. Okay, let's talk about tower. And quickly, let me just go back and reference the gameplay here, and I want to talk about Salil real quick. And with Salil, you do all of your trading with him. If you need to trade resources, you trade with him, and also you cannot take any of the black market passes from him. And then also how Salil works too is when you draw out the last of the jewels from the black pouch, all of the jewels that Salil has in his possession, he returns them back to the king, and they go back into the pouch, and you draw them again and start using them over. So let me talk about this game. All right, first of all, let me talk about the artwork with this game, and the artwork is fun and it's excellent. I really like it. It gives me this whole feel of like Aladdin and with the whole Arabian type thing. And if you look at the characters that are on the market cards, they all have their own unique personalities on there, and just the artwork really kind of brings it out. And another thing with this game that really stands out is on the black market cards, the flavor text that's on there, you really need to read it and pay attention to it because it's great. It just really gives this game a lot of depth, and it really shows me what type of designer that Ben Haskett is, and what just his attention to detail and what he really wants to put into a game. And because a lot of times when I look at cards, I see flavor text, I never really pay much attention to it. But this stuff here, the flavor text, just really brings this game, just brings it up a notch and really gives it some life. So I like that. Another thing that I like too with the artwork and attention to detail is the component selection that he has planned for this game that goes along with the build cards. If you look at the build cards, the shapes of all the resources are on there. So, and they match up with the shapes of the actual building resources themselves. So a younger player can just match them up. There's no confusion as to what they're looking for. If they're looking for straw, they can see it right on the build card, and the straw resource is right there for them to grab. So like I said, I had my 7-year-old niece playing this game with us, and she had no problem whatsoever in playing this game. We gave her a little bit of coaching in the beginning on how to use the black market cards, but all of the set collection and handling the resources and selling and buying things, she grasped that concept very easily. So this game is very, very friendly for families that way, and I really like that aspect of this game. I like the fact that it's a set collection and resource management. You know, yes, you have to collect the various resources in order to build your tower components, but now you're looking at the scarcity of resources in that market. Because once you buy those resources, they don't get replenished until somebody builds a tower segment and then they come back out. So you really have to make every move count as to how you're going to be making your purchases and where, and how much you're going to be dealing with the black market. Because when the resources become scarce, you're going to have to access that black market, and sometimes it's going to cost you. If you don't have a black market pass, which is the black jewels, it's going to cost you, but it's going to become necessary because you're going to need to build your tower segments faster than the other players in order to win the game. So the scarcity of resources really gives this game some depth and makes you have to use some strategy as to how you're going to plan your moves. So I like that. And again, the set collection, you know, the set collection itself, if I look at this from a family perspective, all of the building resources that you need during this time period that this game is set, that's what they needed to actually build their structures. So they needed to use straw or clay or water in order to make the mud bricks, and also the lumber for their scaffolding or whatever they needed to build in order to build these structures. So it becomes a great way to teach this in terms of like a geography lesson as to what were the resources that were used in order to build particular things in this particular area of the world, which would be kind of over like the Middle East type area and around the Arabian Peninsula. So that's really, really good that way. It really is, again, attention to detail in how this game is made. This game, the theme comes through completely. I mean, your job is you're a skilled architect who's been commissioned by the king, and when you read even the rule book, there's a whole storyline that goes behind this. Like every day when you go to draw the gems, it's going to visit the king's bookkeeper, and he just kind of throws gems at you and says, "Here, go do what you need to do." And so you have to deal with what he gives you. And so the theme just comes through there. It's very much, you know, set in this whole Arabian world. So he just does a really good job with that. Now, this game has, you know, the strategy, again, when we talked about the set collection resource management, yes, it's family friendly, but there's enough there to appeal to casual gamers, and the hardcore gamers may or may not like this game, to be honest with you, because of the randomness of drawing the jewels. You don't know what you're going to get, so it's a little bit harder to plan, but you have to work with what you have, thus the resource management game. And the scarcity of resources is going to really have to put on your thinking cap. So those are the elements that I like in this game. I like the fact that it's pretty compact. It doesn't take a whole lot of space to play. I like the components that he's used. I like the actual pieces for the lumber and for the clay and for the straw and for the water. I just think that it just adds that extra element, you know, the three-dimensional element to the game. So I really like this game, and it's very, very family friendly. So if you would like to engage in being an architect and building a tower for the king, then you can take the time to pledge Tower, which is currently on Kickstarter, and I have the link in the video description below. And you can help to make this project come alive, and you can bring it to your table where you can build a tower. All right, that's it for now. Join me again next time as we take a look at another game and see how it makes it to the table.